Hello, beautiful. Welcome back to Nat's Beautiful Life and day 12 of the 12 days of Christmas. We made it. And yes, it was nice, bright and sunny, shining outside today. And of course, I wait till almost 5 o'clock to film. So anyway, here we are. We're going to talk about the 12 books of book club. And these are the 12 books that we did with my Girls Night Out book club in 2018. There is information about it in the description box below as far as like the link to get into the Facebook group page, and only join if you really want to join, okay? And then there is some, or there are some videos on my channel about how to start your own book club and also how to choose books for your book club. If I remember to link them in the description box, I will, but if not, they're on my channel. So let's get going on the 12 books that we read in 2018 as the book club, and then our thoughts on it. All right, so the very first book that we read this year, January, was Artemis by Weir. Now, a lot of people really give this a lot of flack, and they really don't like the main character and all that stuff. But, and honestly, The Martian, it is not. But I liked this. I did, because I like sci-fi in general. I have other friends who like sci-fi that really liked it. But yeah, and this was a really great book as far as like group discussion. This was one of the best group discussions we had like all year long, and the best we'd had in a while, because people had thoughts on it. And yes, there were questions. There are things in this book that are just like, that doesn't make sense. Why are they blah blah blah? But you know, other than that, you just kind of have to suspend that belief. Suspend that belief a little bit and just get into the story a little bit. And this is one of those books I feel like was made with a movie in mind. So it was just written like a movie. I think that's what he was thinking when he wrote it. But all in all, I did like this book. Nobody in the book club really hated it. Some people, you know, were of the thought where they didn't really particularly like the main character, which is pretty par for the course with this book. But I liked it. It was a good book club book because there's lots of discussion there. So people liking things, people hating things, people having thoughts about things. So that was a good one. The next one was Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. This was a reread for me. And it's so funny. We actually have a book picked for 2019 that I've already read as well. But that's okay. Some books are worth the reread. And this is definitely one of them. This is one of my favorite books of all time. There was like some issues with another Sophie Kinsella book this year that I will talk about in a minute, but this one is one of my favorite books. It is a YA book. It is written like YA, but I like how there is a girl who has anxiety, like something happens to her at school, and that's never really explained. It could be just anything, but there was an incident at school, and after that the girl just kind of had a breakdown, and she couldn't leave the house because she became agoraphobic and had trouble speaking to people who weren't in her family, but she did okay with the people in her family. But then there was a boy that came along, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you know, oh, of course the boy comes. No. She saves herself. It's not like the boy comes and he brings her out of her shell. What I liked about it is the boy was very understanding of her situation, and having someone who was not in the family that was understanding and didn't push her was helpful. But there's so many things to this book. The family is just adorable, and her mother is funny crazy nuts, like, yeah. So it's just an adorable read. I really enjoyed it. It's a really light one, so if you need a light read that has some feels to it, this is a good one. Next one is Station 11 by Emily St. John. I talked about this one recently, so I won't go too in depth with it. Check out the rest of the videos and the 12 Days of Christmas, and you'll hear me talk about this one a little bit more. But it's basically where we start on this one night before the fall of humanity, as far as like illness, society, and all this. So we start on this one night where these people are connected in some way. They're at this theater. And then later that night, an outbreak of a disease like the flu breaks out and people die. So nobody becomes zombies, everybody just dies. And it is like following immediately after and then through the years. Like you see these people kind of reconnect, and it's a really good book. It is one that takes you a hot minute to get into, but once you get into it, you'll love it. Next one is, I have it here, Before We Were Yours, by Lisa Wingate. I believe my last video, I think it was like the 11 books that gave me all the feels or something like that, 11 books that moved me. This one's mentioned, so I'm not going to go too far into this, but this is a great book club book. This one will give you all the feels once again, and it's just a good story. The funny thing is there are two kind of timelines merging together, and it's, you know, present day and then the past when all this junk is happening. I liked the writing and the style and the characters of the older, like the older timeline. The newer timeline, the main character's kind of annoying. It doesn't make sense, some of it. But because of that, it gives you good discussion. And it gives you, like, it lets you get questions and answers and things amongst yourselves. And what ifs and maybes and blah, blah, blah. So that's what I really like about having a book like this with a book club, because then you can really have some talks about it and why you do or do not like it. All right. The next book is... No One Is Coming to Save Us by Stephanie Powell Watts. I wanted to love this book. It's a North Carolina based book. B, it was one that was very hyped up at the moment. C, it was compared to The Great Gatsby, but no, this book, this book was so bad. The characters, you do not like any of them. You've got like your one main character who's like the older lady. You kind of, but you know, it's like, it's real. The thing is, I think what was hard about it is like, you know, this is real. You know, this stuff is real. Like, it's not like real based on real events, but I mean, these people in this community living this way is real. And the thing is, in these modern times, like there was a girl, one of the main characters, she had a really good job and basically like one of the only jobs in this really dead, dying community, but she wouldn't leave. Like, she wouldn't leave where she was. She could have a better life, but she'd rather stay and complain about her life where she was as opposed to moving elsewhere, because she actually had the means to do it. There were people there who did not have the means to leave. And it was just, it's, you know, it's like a take on society, and poor versus rich and black versus white and all of it. There's really, and the thing is, it was so depressing, but also I just really didn't like this book. I mean, there are books that are depressing and sad and you know it's real and you just walk away like motivated to try and do something about it. This one, I just wanted this book to be over. I hated it so much. This is another that one might be good for a book club because you will all hate it so much. Usually when we really hate a book, that's when we have a really good discussion. Okay? So the next one is, thank God, The Radium Girls by Kate Moore. Once again, I think this has been mentioned very recently in one of my close by videos. This book is probably one of the best books we ever did for book club. Just hands down one of the best books. It is a memoir of the Radium Girls, so America's Shining Women. It is the girls who painted the clock faces for the US government, the watch faces for the troops, and they were using radium paint and getting sick and dying and all of that. This book was written so well. It was written almost like a narrative, even though you were learning things. And our book club meeting was so awesome because I went to our book club member's house that she was hosting that month, and I walked in, all the lights were out, and I was like, what's going on here? And I walk in, and she had made drinks that glowed in the dark. She had changed out her light bulbs to like black bulbs. And then everybody was wearing like glow in the dark bracelets and stuff. It was like really cool. And she really just goes extra anyway. Don't you, Lauren? When we have book club meetings at her house, she goes extra. But it was a really good discussion because everybody had some sort of deep feeling about this, and just phenomenal. And honestly, the writing of this, phenomenal. So if she has any more of those nonfiction books around, I totally want to look for more by the author because so good. The next one, I actually have this somewhere, but it's in my donate pile. It's Surprise Me by Sophie Kinsella. So disappointed by this book. This is another, one of those cases where we threw a whole bunch of books in a pot. Everybody brought suggestions, and then someone's husband picks out a certain number, and that's what we have. And then what I normally do is I go and I look at all the other books that are still left in the pot, and I make a list and put it on our group page so everybody can see, these suggestions. This one was in the pot more than any other book this particular month. Oh my word. It was terrible. There are like 2 places in the whole book where I'm like, ha ha ha. Like, it was funny, or I expected so much from this because I love Sophie Kinsella. I loved her Finding Audrey and just things like that. And this book was so bad. Just so bad. Nobody liked it. Everyone was disappointed by it. And that's just all I'm going to say. Don't even bother with this book. Don't even bother. Don't buy it if you like Sophie Kinsella and you must read everything that she writes. Get it from the library. It sucks. Moving on. All right, if you liked it, let me know. Let me know what you liked about it. But like I said, there were a couple of parts in there that were funny that made me laugh out loud, but I was very, very disappointed in that book. The next one is Still Waters by Viveca Stein. This is a mystery, and it is what is the word I'm looking for? Translated work. I believe this is a Swedish author. The story takes place in Sweden, and it's the first book in a long series, like a it follows this one this one detective. I really liked it. It was like a surprise. It was one of those Kindle reads or something. So a friend that really likes mysteries put it in there. I got the Kindle book and the audiobook as well. And I just kind of did back and forth. And I'm so glad that I did the audiobook for a lot of it because some things don't translate from English, Swedish English, and especially like proper names and stuff like that. So it was like having her pronounce them for you was great. But this is a great little mystery, and there's a twist in there. You think it's going one way, turns out, oh no, it's not. And so I really did enjoy this one. It was a good one. So if you like mysteries, I do recommend that series. The other one is No Way Home, A Memoir of Life on the Run by Tyler Wetherall. I believe I've talked about this quite a bit before in my wrap up for that month, but I was excited for this. This was one of my picks. It looked really cool. So the girl, her family moved around a lot, and it wasn't until she got a little older that she realized, or that someone finally told her, her brother told her, our dad is on the run from the FBI, and that is why we always move. That's why he can't be around us a lot. That's why the police are always, standing or sitting outside. They're waiting for us to get in contact with him. They're trying to catch Dad. And that part was all right, but literally, that's all it was. Them moving, her trying to see her dad when she could, all of that. There is a little portion of the book, that talks about, that is her dad finally telling her what he did. That's the book I'd like to read. That book. That one. Not about her moving around, but his criminal stuff sounds interesting. But I'll be honest with you, her father, piece of work, even to this day. He went to prison, he's out of prison. piece of work. But wasn't really my favorite memoir because there wasn't much to it other than they moved around a lot. All right. Next one, Feed by Mira Grant. I really liked this. The only thing is it was a little bit dated because of when it was written. I think it was released in 2011. I might be making that up. But I think it was released in 2011. It supposedly took place between 2014 and 2040, something like that. So the technology was behind, and some of the things that they did that we're talking about they didn't go well with the time we live in now, so that it was dated. But the actual writing, the actual content, just the book itself was good. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I do recommend it. I have heard of another book by Mira Grant that's a little bit more, was released later. This, and Feed is the first in a trilogy. I don't know that I will continue the trilogy just because, but I do want to pick up that other book that I have in my head that I can't think of by Mira Grant because I really did like her writing and I liked her story. It was good. But yeah, this is another one where when we had book club, we had cupcakes with brains on top. The ice cubes were zombies or brains. Lauren goes all out for the, like, I'm not even that extra when it comes to book club at all. But yeah, I do recommend that one. And I gotta say, that was one of the best explanations as to why people become zombies from a virus. Because it never really made sense to me. I'm like, well, why are they still moving around if they're dead and blah, blah, blah. And she, like, there's literally a place in there where she explains why they're reanimated. And it's really cool. Like, it's like, you know, all the zombie stuff makes sense to me now. So even just for that, read the book. It was good. And that was another one where I went, I think I just got the audiobook for that, but really, really good. I liked it. And it was a good audiobook because you do have a cast of characters, so it's not just one person. The main people are a brother and a sister, and you have different characters for them, or voice actors. The next one is probably one of my favorite ones this year from book club. That's the Omo Sisters by Joshilyn Jackson, I want to say. This is a terrible cover and terrible name for this book because it looks just like Chick-lit. But there's so much more to this book. This book is so good, and I laughed out loud. I made probably like these types of gestures too, because yeah, the sister, piece of work. And her husband, real piece of work. Like the sister's husband. But the main character, she is a graphic novelist, and she becomes with child, and then she's with a child, and she finds out her grandmother is very, very sick. Like, there's a scene in here where her grandmother is at like the church fish fry. I was barreled over laughing with tears. So good. So good. Good book. Good resolution, everything. I love this book a lot. I think I gave it maybe 4.5, maybe 5 stars. I really liked this book, so highly recommend that one. And last but not least, this won't take me long to talk about, The Little Bookshop on the Seine by Rebecca Raisin. I have my notes here. That's why I'm looking down. I got to the second chapter of this book and I was done. Number one, I got it on my Nook, and I don't like reading on my Nook, so there was that. Plus, I've been insanely busy this month with helping take care of my father and going to the hospital every day for 2 weeks straight. Trying to get work done, getting the 12 Days of Christmas done. So anytime I sat down to read or listen to an audiobook, I want it to be something that I wanted to read. I got 1 or 2 chapters into this, and it was like that Hallmark movie type of romance book. And that is not my scene. So I was like, I don't know if this is worth me. I just wasn't worth it to me. And I was like, you know what? This will be the one book this year that I DNF that is, whatever, book club book. The people who read it were like, oh, it's a fluffy book. It's not great. It's not literary, masterpiece. It was cute, and they were like, the person who hadn't quite finished it yet was like, I have like this many pages left. Who does she wind up with, this guy or this guy? And like, so the people who read it did enjoy it, but I didn't read it, so I can't tell you anything. From what I understand, if you like a cute little romance story, then this is good. And I think this is actually a, Rebecca Raisin has like a series of some sort, and this might be part of it. I'm not sure, but I think that's true. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I think she does have like a series of books. But anyway, those are the 12 books that we did for our book club this year. I'm going to be probably MIA for a couple days, if not for a week. But I do have videos planned for January. We're going to be doing January. I actually have beauty favorites this month, you guys. We have favorites. I'll probably do my favorites and my wrap up together because I really didn't finish a lot of books this month. I have, my reading goals for 2019, and then, of course, my best and worst of 2018 usually goes up in January. So I look forward to sharing those things with you. Let me know what you guys have read in your book club this year, or what you plan on doing in the upcoming years. Let me know if you have any questions about starting a book club or how to choose books or anything like that. Once again, there are videos on my channel as well that explain it to you, but if you just have a simple question that doesn't answer, then I'm happy to answer that for you. Thank you guys so much for being with me this holiday season. I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas and that you have a Happy New Year. Have a great day, gorgeous.